All right, so you've decided to switch over to barefoot shoes or go completely barefoot. Now, just because you made a transition towards a barefoot lifestyle, it doesn't necessarily mean that your feet are automatically going to become healthy. We need to make that transition as smooth as possible. This means we need to put the same amount of attention and detail towards training the feet, just like we would do if we're going to go into some athletic competition or weightlifting. Now, the problem with going barefoot or just wearing barefoot shoes without any proper training is that you haven't fully gotten used to the surfaces that you're walking on. So the foot doesn't fully develop straight away. It requires some form of flexibility training, some form of loosening of the toes at the base of the foot in order to start feeling that comfort and to maximize the transition over. So the first category we're going to focus on is the level of toe flexibility we have in both feet. If your toes are stuck together and you're finding it difficult to separate the toes, the obvious choice in today's world is to switch over to wearing some form of toe spreaders. Now, I've got no issues with wearing toe spreaders to help gain more abduction between the toes. However, if we're looking at trying to release tension in the toes, it's not just in one direction. We want to focus on exercises and stretches that will allow us to release in all forms of directions in the toes. So for this, I'm going to turn to one of my mentors, Kit Lachlan, and use some of his exercises to help us release the tension between the toes and gain some sort of toe flexibility. All right, so the first thing we'll do is come down onto the ground. You're going to sit on your bottom, and then we're going to decide what position we're going to be in based on how comfortable it feels. So the first position is you keep the leg in a cross-legged position, and then you sweep the top leg over, and this is the foot we're going to work on. If that's too uncomfortable for the knee, feel free to also straighten the bottom leg, and we can place a yoga block or something to support this knee. And the additional thing you can do is place the back against the wall if you find this position too uncomfortable to sit in a freestanding position. Okay, so we're going to thread the fingers of the opposite hand in between the toes of the foot that is on top of the leg. So you're going to put the small finger through the small toes, and then one by one, we're going to try and thread all the fingers through. Now, if you've got tight toes, this is going to be a little uncomfortable. So take your time with this. Give yourself a bit of a wiggle when you're doing this to try and pull the fingers right through. And if you're finding it extremely uncomfortable, feel free to also use some oil or some sort of lotion to help you lubricate the sections between the toes. Right, so we want to make sure that the balls of the feet are in contact with the knuckles, so then the fingers are right the way through. Good. With the opposite hand, we're going to hold on to the heel, and this will just clamp the position down. And then using the other hand, we're going to try and go into a figure 8 rolling sort of movement. At first, you're probably going to start off with small rolls based on the tightness in the toes. And then as it starts to warm up, you can gradually increase the rolls. And you'll notice it starting to feel more loose. We're going to try and do about 10 to 20 of these rolls. Good, once you've done that, the next movement is we're going to twist the toes up towards the ceiling and then twist the toes down towards the ground. So for this one, I'm going to try and aim for 10 to 20 of these. Nice, and the final one is a flexion and extension movement for the toes. So you pull the toes down and you press the heel of the palm into the base of the foot. And then we reverse the movement and try and pull the toes all the way back into extension. And again, we'll aim for around 10 to 20 repetitions. Nice, once you finish that, you can pull the fingers out and just give the toes a wiggle. And then for the next part, we're going to drop the heel down in front of us. So we're going to work on each individual digit and try and separate the toes. So you're going to start off on the small toe side of the foot and then work your way up towards the big toe. So the first two toes, we're going to separate them, and we're going to hold this for around 10 to 15 seconds. The idea here is to try and get a 90-degree angle between the toes. Obviously, if you're tight in the toes, this won't be possible straight away. Good, and then we're going to go into pushing one toe forward and the other one back. Again, we're trying to achieve a 90-degree angle. And then reverse the movement. Nice. You move on to the next toe, so now it's the fourth and the third toe. Separate them first, and then forward and back, and then reverse them. Just be mindful that you don't end up ripping the webbing between the toes. So we don't want to force the toes out too much, just because the webbing is quite sensitive. Nice. Give the toes a wiggle. So for the next exercise, we're going to try and lengthen the toes and get rid of any of the pressure in between the knuckles or the joints of the toes. So obviously wearing tight shoes usually causes our toes to compress in the segment of the toes. So to do this, we're going to pull the heel back, turn it to the side, and then we're going to grab it with the opposite hand. And then you're going to start off with a small toe, try and grab it with the thumb and the index finger, and then we're going to try and pull the toe forward. Just be mindful that you don't pull too hard and cause any pain in the toe joint. Hold that for about 10 seconds, and then we're going to grab the tip of the toe and give it a good shake. Nice, same thing on the next toe. So you grab it, pull it out, hold it for a few seconds, and then give it a good shake. So as I'm shaking them, I'm also pulling the toe forward, which will allow me to lengthen and release the pressure in between the joint. You're also going to get cracking and popping. And you'll feel the joint getting looser as you shake it. Obviously you don't need me to say this, but just be mindful that you're not pulling too hard when you're doing the shaking movement. Last toe. So we pull the toe, hold it for a few seconds, and then give it a shake. All right, so for the final exercise, we're going to place the foot back on top of the knee. Again, if this is uncomfortable, lengthen the bottom leg. And then we're going to place the thumb on the balls of the feet and then wrap the fingers on the top part of the toes. Same thing with the other hand. So you wrap the thumbs on the balls of the feet and the fingers wrap around on the top part of the foot. Good, and then we're going to try and twist our foot up towards the ceiling. Hold this for about 10 seconds, and then we're going to do a little contraction here. So I want you to use the muscles around the ankles to try and reverse the movement and try and go back into the starting point. So we contract by trying to reverse the movement using the ankle muscles. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax it, take a deep breath in, and then as you exhale, see if you can twist the toes up towards the ceiling a bit more. And we're going to hold that for 10 seconds. Nice. And we're going to do the reverse part of the movement. This time the thumb comes on top of the foot and then the fingers wrap around the balls of the feet. You do the same thing with the hand. Thumbs come on top, fingers come to the bottom, and then we twist the foot down towards the ground. Hold that for 10 seconds. And then again, using the muscles around the ankles, you're going to try and reverse the movement, bringing the foot back into the starting position. We're going to try and resist that with the hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax it. Take a deep breath in. Good, exhale, see if you can twist the foot more down towards the ground. Nice. Good, give the toes a shake, and then just test out how the feet feel. So you stand up, and you'll notice the side that you've just performed the exercises on, the toes will feel a lot more spread, and you'll feel a lot of the tightness underneath the balls of the feet will have reduced massively. Nice. So I want you to repeat the same sequence on the other foot. Now, when it comes to toe flexibility, these are the exercises you want to start off with first. This will allow you to build a base before you start going into more complex exercises which work on training the strength of the arch and going into areas of gripping with the toes. I'll go over those in a future video. So exercises like this one here where I'm balancing on the bar with my toes, this will come later down the line. Plus, I will also show you a really good sequence you can do with gymnastics benches to help you incorporate the flexibility of other parts of the body into some form of toe training as well.